A massive database leak exposes millions of Chinese Communist Party members and shows how the party infiltrates foreign companies. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. News broke this week of a leaked database of almost 2 million Chinese Communist Party members.
What's amazing about this database is not just that it exposes people who are members of the Communist Party and who are now living and working all over the world, from Australia to the US to the UK, but it's amazing because it lifts the lid on how the party operates under President and Chairman Xi Jinping. But this leak shows that party branches are embedded in some of the world's biggest companies and even inside government agencies.
Now, the idea that there are party branches embedded inside foreign companies in China is shocking news, if you haven't been watching China Uncensored. Today, the Chinese Communist Party controls the entire Chinese government. It controls the Chinese military. It controls the court system. It controls education, from kindergarten to universities. It controls all major companies by requiring companies with 50 or more employees to have a Communist Party branch. Thanks, past Chris. But this latest leak is still pretty significant. And not just because most people don't watch China Uncensored. It's that the more information that comes out about the Chinese Communist Party and how they actually operate, the better. Because many people tend to forget the fact that China is controlled by the Communist Party. They like to pretend that Chinese leaders are a bunch of highly efficient, extremely wise technocratic engineers who build glittering skyscrapers and high-speed trains, but never concentration camps. I mean, Chinese leaders don't even believe in communism, so we should definitely do business with them. So this database of 1.95 million Chinese Communist Party members and 79,000 party branches is an inconvenient reminder that it's an authoritarian regime with tentacles in every part of Chinese society. And it shows how Communist Party branches have infiltrated Western companies, which I'll talk about later in the episode. But first, how was this database leaked? And is it real? The answer, after this commercial break. Welcome back. There's been a massive database leak of nearly 2 million Communist Party members. How was it leaked, and is it real? The database appears to be from 2016. In September, it was leaked to the IPAC, the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China. It's a group of 150 legislators from different countries who are concerned about the Chinese Communist Party. The IPAC then gave it to a group of journalists for verification. The Australian also independently obtained another version of the database, which was analyzed by cybersecurity firm Internet 2.0. Internet 2.0 was able to determine that the data was physically taken from a server in April 2016. And then it was shared online with different groups of Chinese activists. The media organizations with access to the database have said they will not be publishing the whole thing publicly. That's because it includes names, birth dates, ID numbers, and sometimes even addresses and phone numbers. There is at least one version of the database that can be found online. We looked at it, but we can't confirm that this version is the same one as the one sent to the IPAC or seen by these other media organizations. There's also a question of whether the database is accurate. Some of the people the Australian contacted did not know how they got on the list or strongly denied ever being a member of the CCP. Although there are also people in the database who are known security risks, like scholar Chen Hong. His Australian visa was revoked in September. Just to be clear, even if all the names on the list are accurate, that doesn't mean all these people are spies. Remember, there are 92 million Chinese Communist Party members, according to the party. Most of them aren't spies. Like I've said before, people typically join the party for personal reasons, like getting a better job, more access for the company they own, and so on. China is a very competitive place, and most of China's elite became elite because either they joined the party or their family members did. Jack Ma wouldn't have become China's richest man if he hadn't joined the Communist Party. Of course, that also means that the party gets to show Jack Ma who's boss. I mean, the Communist Party shows everybody else in China who's boss too, so you can't really escape that. But joining the Communist Party is a big deal. You have to swear an oath, vowing to fight for communism throughout your life, to be ready to sacrifice your all for the Communist Party, and to never betray the party. And like with every Faustian bargain, at some point, you have to give the devil his due. So in some ways, it's not surprising that this database shows that there are Communist Party members working for the Australian, British, and US consulates in Shanghai, including 3 female employees of the US consulate in Shanghai, especially since the Chinese regime picks who can work in foreign consulates and embassies. All foreign missions have to hire local Chinese staff through state-owned enterprises like the Shanghai Foreign Service Group, your reliable HR management expert. It's like outsourcing your human resources department to the Chinese Communist Party. And you thought HR couldn't get more evil. Is that a security risk? Yes, yes it is. But I'm sure the US consulate in Shanghai is aware of that. And even if these Chinese employees aren't officially Communist Party members, they could still be forced to spy on the US consulate under China's national intelligence law. That law states that any organization and citizen shall, in accordance with the law, support, provide assistance, and cooperate in national intelligence work. So on one hand, this report isn't alarming because this is just the way things are done in China. On the other hand, this report is extremely alarming because this is just the way things are done in China. But that's not all we learned from this database. We learned just how many Communist Party branches there are in foreign companies with operations in China, which I'll tell you about after the break. Welcome back. This database leak shows how Chinese Communist Party branches are everywhere, including in every major foreign company operating inside China. These include HSBC, Citibank, IKEA, Pfizer, Qualcomm, and Boeing. In many cases, these companies have multiple party branches in China. For example, Boeing has 17 branches, totaling 252 CCP members. Qualcomm has over 200 members across 7 party branches. Pfizer has 4 party branches in Shanghai. Even my alma mater, NYU, has a party branch at its Shanghai campus. I'm glad I gave NYU so much money. But how much influence do these party branches have in these foreign companies? It's hard to say. Foreign companies with more than 50 employees had always been required by Chinese law to have a Communist Party branch. But for a while, it didn't seem like a big deal. Then, back in 2017, Chinese leader Xi Jinping started a campaign to increase the influence of the Communist Party in Chinese society, and foreign firms started feeling the pressure. By the end of 2017, Disney's Shanghai theme park had 300 Communist Party members. Oh, that explains a lot. Some companies were under political pressure to revise the terms of their joint ventures with state-owned partners to allow the party final say over business operations and investment decisions. Company executives expressed concerns about increasing demands from the party or noted increased activity from party groups. But this was so politically sensitive that companies would only discuss it with the media anonymously. Although at one point it got so bad that the German ambassador actually called it out publicly. But that didn't stop the problem. And this database leak now shows that senior staff at HSBC, Standard Chartered, and Deutsche Bank are Chinese Communist Party members. Senior staff! And what about Chinese companies that have foreign operations? Do they have Communist Party branches in other countries? According to this database, yes. Chinese state-owned shipping giant Costco has nearly 3,000 party members across 118 party branches worldwide. That includes 2 small party branches in the UK. As you can imagine, the Chinese Communist Party is not happy about this database leak. According to my favorite Chinese state-run media, the Global Times, the West is hyping the leaked list to sow discord. And they're just fantasizing about CPC infiltration. Although, if you want to show that the Chinese Communist Party is totally harmless and the threat is all fantasy, maybe you want to use a different photo. But like I said earlier, this data leak shows us some interesting information about how the Chinese Communist Party is operating within these foreign companies. And if this shocks you, there's only one thing to do. Stop watching China Uncensored. Wait a few months and you'll probably just forget. Ooh, look at that glittering skyline. Please, China, take our money. And now it's time for me to answer a question from a viewer who supports China Uncensored on Patreon. Jason asks, what's some investment companies that won't send our money to China and other authoritarian countries? I vaguely remember you all did an episode in the past about an investment company that won't invest our money in countries like Saudi Arabia and China. Great question, Jason. It's pretty hard to find an investment company that doesn't put your money in China or in Chinese companies in the US. And that's because China is a huge part of most emerging markets indexes. I believe you're referring to an episode of our podcast where we talked to Perth Toll from Life and Liberty Indexes. They provide the world's only freedom-weighted ETF. If you haven't heard that episode, you should definitely check it out. It's fascinating and terrifying how we're all invested in China without even knowing it. I just want to make it clear that I am not qualified to give investing advice. But if I were, I'd tell you to invest only in Agent Smith Coin, my new cryptocurrency. It will be the only accepted currency once I become Supreme Leader of these United States for life. Trust me, you're gonna love it. Thanks for your question, Jason. And thank you for watching. Be like Jason and support China Uncensored on the crowdfunding website Patreon. And as a bonus, I might answer your question at the end of an episode. Head over to patreon.com/China Uncensored to join. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching.